So just going to quickly talk about how to vote by mail 2020. First, just quickly on why it's really important to vote by mail. And it's not only like we're in a pandemic, you should stay safe, but also there are people who can't vote by mail for a variety of reasons. And even if you personally don't feel like you're at risk, it's really important like to prevent these long lines to keep them safe. And in states that haven't done really good vote by mail, this has gone terribly. And there have been huge lines at the polls in the midst of a pandemic, and like it's just really not safe. Yeah, so it's super important that if you can vote by mail, you do so. So the first step is to check your registration. Make sure that not only that you are registered, but also you know what party you're registered in, and that all your registration information is generally up to date. And in order to do that, you can head to this URL that's on the page, or just go to annacallahan.com/vote. Which has all these URLs that you'll see throughout the presentation. Cool. And then next is, a lot of you probably should have already received your application in the mail, but if you haven't received your application in the mail, or you don't know where it is, or you can also download it online as a PDF, which once again, the link is right there, but it will also, all these links will be on annacallahan.com/vote. And yeah, or you can also call 1-800-462-VOTE to request an application, and they'll send it to you. So in order to fill out your application, it's pretty self-explanatory, but you should just check all 2020 elections, because that'll automatically have them send a ballot whenever they're ready for each election that comes up, most like including the September primary and the November general election. But make sure that if you do that, and if you're registered as an independent, you have to mark what party you are, or else they won't know what ballot to send you for the primary, and they won't send you the ballot. And then in addition, yeah, you can also, it says mail ballot too, so you could choose any address to mail your ballot to. It doesn't have to be the address that you're registered at. And if you need assistance, you can fill out section 3. You can also fill these out online. Like I've done here, you can fill them out all on your computer. Just make sure that when you do your signature, it's like actually an e-signature and it isn't you typing out your name. Otherwise, they won't validate your application. Cool. And everything else is pretty self-explanatory. So then to actually send it in, there are 2 ways. You can either mail it to the local election office, which if you're in Somerville, the address is right there. If you're in Medford, the address is there. Or you can email it as a PDF to the emails that are on the screen. Once again, like all this information will be on annacallahan.com/vote. And we really strongly recommend that you send in your application by July 31st. Like we called the election office today and they already have huge amounts of application requests, and it's taking them a while to process. And so even though the deadline is later, we really recommend that you do it earlier to make sure that you get your application, that you get your ballot in the mail, because things in other states have been delayed. So yeah. Cool. And then once you've done that, make sure that you track your application. This is the URL where you can do that. And you just type in your name, whatever, and there are a couple options. One is that it says no record, in which case that your application has not been received. If it's like this for a few days, you should definitely call the local election office and they'll be able to tell you if they've gotten your application and just haven't input it into the system yet. Or it'll say pending, which means that your application was received and a ballot will be sent to you, in which case just look out in the mail for your ballot. Cool. And then finally, once you get the ballot, it'll come with instructions on how to fill it out. Just make sure you're super careful. We also recommend that you fill it out by August 21st, just because like it does take a while to process these things and you want to make sure that your vote gets counted. And so if you do it by August 21st, you're pretty much guaranteed that your ballot will come in on time. Everything will go well. If anything goes wrong, you have time to sort that out. And also likewise, you can track your ballot using this site and make sure that it was received, but they said that there are some delays with actually inputting it into the system. So if you have any doubts, you should just call the local election office in Medford or Somerville, depending on where you live. Yeah, and that's all. Are there any questions?
Stamps.
Yeah, so your application, if you got sent an application, it'll come with prepaid postage, meaning you don't have to, you can just put it in the mail right there. If you print it out, it won't. You will have to stamp it if you're sending it in by mail, but you can also send it online for free.
And the actual
you can drop it off
itself?
at the election office.
Sorry, the actual ballot itself as well?
And the ballot itself will definitely, no matter what, will come with a stamp. Yeah.